Good morning, St. Augustine. Your access to the voices of top local newsmakers starts now. Here's your host, Liz Ryan.
Good morning. It's nice to have you along. I have a very interesting guest with me today. It's Jenna Dennis, board chair of the Hastings Main Street Board of Directors. Good morning, Jenna.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
We're going to talk about all things Hastings coming up in just a moment. But first, a little bit more about Jenna Dennis. Tell me about where you grew up.
So I was born in Jacksonville and spent most of my early life there. My mom moved us and my high school years down to Lake Wales, Florida for a bit, but ultimately I ended up back in the Northeast Florida area, and we settled in St. Augustine just because I've always loved that small, charm town feel of the St. Augustine area.
How did you get into the real estate business?
So I own an auction company, and when I met my husband, he was a real estate broker, and we married and, of course, combined our two businesses. And I used to run the auction company part of it, and he did the real estate. And over time, we actually switched roles. I found I have a big passion, and I really enjoy doing real estate. And he's kind of taken over the auction company aspect of our businesses, and it's been amazing ever since.
What do you love about real estate, Jenna?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. I love the challenge. It's never boring. No 2 days ever look alike. I really get to spend a lot of amazing time with people in the community, and I always feel like at the end of a transaction, I've made a new friend, but I've also helped someone achieve a major life goal. So it's very rewarding and very exciting.
What's the current real estate market like, Jenna, in Hastings in particular?
Well, the market in Hastings right now, a lot of people are speculating and trying to buy into that area of St. Johns County just because it's really the last affordable area near St. Augustine that's still out there. So we're seeing a lot of folks trying to move that way. They love the rural charm. They love the more quiet lifestyle. And of course, the Main Street, as it redevelops and all the old historical buildings are now becoming occupied, it's really charming to be able to stroll down the Main Street, and very reminiscent of the way St. Augustine was probably 20, 25 years ago.
What would you say, as far as price range, moves the fastest in Hastings?
I think not just in Hastings, but all over, that 2 to 400,000 price range is really the quickest moving. It's, where a lot of the labor force of St. Johns County, a lot of the people that work in the service industry, all of our hometown heroes, a good chunk of them are in that 2 to 400,000 range. So you get a lot more for that budget in that rural area of St. Johns County than you do, closer to the downtown St. Augustine area. So that's kind of the market out there right now. And then, of course, we have the higher end extreme, a lot of larger estate homes, a lot of homes along the river. So it's a good balance.
Do people come to Hastings looking for bigger lots?
Absolutely. I think that's a lot of the appeal to the Hastings area is the fact that you can get land. There's not as many HOA communities. It's a lot more, rural, people buying 5, 10, 20 acre parcels and, building their homesteads. A lot more pocket farms, as we call it, or hobby farms, which is really nice. So a lot of people are looking for that quieter lifestyle.
What's a pocket farm?
A pocket farm is just what it sounds like. It's a smaller farm that typically a family that's looking to either grow or have livestock just enough to support their family and not necessarily looking to do it for a commercial purpose. So anywhere from 1 to 5 acres typically, and it's just a charming little farm that people are calling their own.
Are you seeing more of those these days? Is it the new big thing?
It really is. We're seeing a lot of that. A lot of people are trying to get back to the basics. Of course, with the cost of food going up the way it has, more and more people are trying to grow their own and produce their own. We're also seeing a lot more people that are becoming health conscious and trying to stay away from processed foods and eating out so much. So more and more people are aware of growing their own food and trying to do organic or pesticide-free, or, just educating the younger generation on where our food even comes from.
This year, Jenna, is my first serious attempt at a vegetable garden. So say a prayer for me, please. I've got carrots and beets and cucumbers and beans and herbs. So
I was not born with a green thumb. We joke in my family that I love my plants to death. So I bring them right to the verge of, dying, and then my mom comes over and helps me nurse them back to life.
Oh, what are moms for, right?
Exactly.
You're listening to Good Morning St. Augustine. My guest is Jenna Dennis, board chair of the Hastings Main Street Board of Directors. Jenna, what would you say is misunderstood about Hastings?
Well, I think for so long, Hastings was kind of just this one stoplight road, and people didn't even really view it as a town, just because over the past 30, 40 years, it had slowly declined both in occupancy and, a lot of the historic structures had a lot of deferred maintenance. In 2018, Hastings was dissolved as its own municipality, and St. Johns County took it over. And I think since then, it's been all about trying to revitalize it, to improve a lot of the crumbling infrastructure, simple things like the sewer and water supplies and roads and all the things that prior to being absorbed by St. Johns County, there just were not the funds to keep up and maintain. So a lot of people in their minds still see it as it was 20 or 30 years ago. And those that are from Hastings, they've experienced that decline. The town has actually burned down 3 times over the past 100 years. So it's been through a lot, but it's a resilient community. And the people that live there now, that are both from there and the people that are moving there, are very excited to see the economic revitalization and new businesses moving in. And the county's really poured a lot of financial input into the community, trying to get it back to where it really needs to be. So most people that haven't been there in a while are very pleasantly surprised to see the change.
Hastings is very resilient, and also the potato capital of Florida. How did Hastings get that nickname?
So it's such a fun nickname. Even though it's considered the potato capital of Florida, it's very well known for a lot of agricultural produce. It's, of course, potatoes is what it really thrived in the early 1900s. The town of Hastings was actually created by Thomas Horace Hastings, who was a cousin of Flagler, and he kind of built up the town so that there was produce to provide to the hotels in St. Augustine. So as they determined that the soil was excellent for certain crops, potatoes was one of those. And I remember there was one year specifically where up north, a lot of the potato farmers lost their crop that season. So Hastings, of course, had a brilliant crop that season, and the prices skyrocketed. So more and more farmers planted more potatoes because the price was so high. And I think that's part of the reason why not just the soil, but that popularity of that time period, so many people started planting potatoes.
Is potato still a major crop in Hastings?
It is, yes. Potatoes, cabbage, there's a lot of different crops, but those two particularly.
So hence the Potato, Cabbage, and Bacon Festival?
Exactly, yeah. The Potato, Cabbage, and Bacon Festival is actually a historic festival that's been done for many, many years, and it quit happening probably 10 or 15 years ago just because the people that were hosting the festival have either passed away or got to an age where they weren't able to contribute. So our board, our nonprofit board, we determined that we were going to try to revitalize it and bring it back. And we met with a lot of the elders in the community and learned all about what they've historically done at the festival, and also added our own touch, which was, of course, adding bacon to the mix, and decided to bring back the festival and, really use it as an opportunity to bring the community together and celebrate our agricultural heritage.
And who doesn't love bacon, right?
Yes, exactly. We even had a Kiss the Pig contest this year to kind of tie into it.
All right. What the heck is that?
So we had a local pig farmer. She brought 2 or 3 of her baby piglets, and we had 5 of our local heroes, which included Sheriff Hardwick, Sheriff Gator DeLoach, Jody Bateman, who was the former mayor, and we had the 904 Now Boys, who do an amazing local news podcast, and all of them raised money to see whoever raised the most amount of money got out of kissing the pig. And we ended up raising, I think, $4,000 or $5,000, which was amazing. And it turns out that all of them ended up kissing the pig for a photo opportunity. So it was very cute and sweet, and I think everybody had a really good time with it.
Cute and sweet. Okay. And kind of gross?
Luckily, it was a cute baby pig, so it wasn't too bad.
Oh, okay. All right. Are there any local legends or traditions that are unique to Hastings besides the cabbage, potato, and bacon festival?
So they used to historically have a potato ball, and we are working on trying to bring that back as well. We've been doing research on it and working on logistics of trying to schedule one hopefully in the next year or two. But that's definitely on our radar to continue that tradition. Our little Main Street has a lot of history, and our goal is to bring that back slowly but surely. We've also been collecting oral history of some of the elders in the community and learning about their stories and really trying to preserve that and celebrate it. So we've actually have one new mural that we just had installed, and we have another mural coming in 2 weeks, and a lot of them tie into that history. So there's just a lot of fun, unique things about the community.
What businesses are on Main Street?
Gosh, we have a lot of businesses. We have, of course, a coffee shop now, which is Hastings Coffee Co. We have Hastings Nutrition Co., a pizza place. We have a barber shop. We have a bank, a funeral home. We have a little cafe, a diner type cafe called Norma D's. We have Juniper Market is getting ready to move in, which is very exciting. And we also have, it's called Anything EC. They sell auto detailing supplies. And then we have 4 or 5 new businesses that have leased and are busy either doing their build out or renovating their buildings. And those are just all of the newer businesses in the last 5 years or so. There's a few businesses, of course, that have been there even longer. So it's just a nice diverse mix, and we hope to continue adding to that with more ma and pa and local owned businesses.
And Hastings recently went from having a lot of vacancies to having very few vacancies, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we only have a couple spaces left that are still available. So it's very heartwarming to see people getting excited about opening their business there.
You're listening to Good Morning St. Augustine. I'm your host, Liz Ryan, chatting with Jenna Dennis, board chair of the Hastings Main Street Board of Directors and of Great Expectations Real Estate. Tell me about the Hastings Community Center and Library that everyone's looking forward to.
Gosh, we are so excited to have a new library. It's really a big deal for our community. The existing library was housed in the old Hastings High School building, which is a beautiful historic structure that is actually now being renovated for the new First Coast Technical College that's going to be opening up in about 18 months. And that's another great stride for our little rural community. But the new library and community center are right there on Main Street in the thick of our historic Main Street district. And it was one of the heartwarming parts of it is the architect that actually designed the new library had come up with a more modern design than I think we were envisioning for the building. And the community came together, and through Hastings Main Street, we were able to provide a voice and, really go to the county and express what we would love to see, both aesthetically and architecturally. And the county listened. They were excited to get the feedback, and they made some changes to the design, and it now reflects exactly what the community chose. And for us, that's a big deal because it allowed us to kind of express ourselves as a community together. So we are very pleased by it, and, every day it's getting closer to being completed, and they're anticipating the new opening to be this coming spring.
And what will it look like?
It has a mix of both historic features that represent the old building that used to sit in that exact location, which was a community center that was built in the early 1900s. Unfortunately, many years ago, it had been torn down. So this new building looks very much like that, but it has a more modern feel to it. So it combines old and new, and it's pulled right up to the street, similarly to all of the other historic buildings. So it's in line with exactly what you would anticipate seeing in a Main Street district.
So that's something it sounds like the whole community is really going to get a lot of use from, and it will bring people together. I think a lot of people will make connections and lifelong friends at the Hastings Community Center.
Yeah, and we've been so blessed. A lot of people, say, oh, libraries are a thing of the past, people don't read anymore, but it's so much more than just a place to go and for kids to read. I mean, there's a media center. They do a lot of programming. Our little community library does everything from tincture making classes to classes on making balms and how to use herbs and cooking classes. And it's just a wonderful asset to the community. So we're very grateful that, everything has come together as it has.
Okay, Jenna, I just want to clarify, though. You said making balms, right? BALMS.
Yes, herbal remedies.
Herbal.
Not the other.
Not the other kind, not the dangerous kind. Okay.
Yes,
of course.
Exactly.
How does Hastings maintain its rural identity, Jenna? Yeah, I've got to tell you, my first encounter with a banana spider was in Hastings, but other than that, I love that rural feel, that kind of tranquil feeling you get in Hastings.
Yeah, and I think everybody does, both, the people that have been born and raised there and the people moving out there. They're moving there because they appreciate that rural charm. It's a quieter lifestyle. People still walk around the community and, bicycle, and it's quiet. You hear the roosters crowing and the sun comes up over the crops, and it's just a different way of life. And I think that for all of us, our goal is to, of course, work on the economic revitalization and restore a lot of the historic buildings, but it's also to maintain that small town feel. So while a lot of, St. Johns County is, of course, being developed, we're very cognizant of trying to put overlays in place that will protect overdevelopment and that will, keep that small rural charm. That's very important to all of us in the community. And we've been working closely with the county and the commissioners to put, stopgaps in place to try to protect it.
Do you see, as a realtor, a lot of people coming to Hastings to get away from the rapid development in the rest of the county?
I do. Yeah. Traffic is a big thing right now with, people that live in St. Johns County. So we do hear that a lot. They want to be in a more rural setting to where the daily commute isn't in the muck of it. But I think traffic is just one component. It's a different type of person that appreciates the larger lots and the slower pace of life. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And being so close to St. Augustine, you still have everything you need very close by.
But isn't that kind of a conundrum, people going to Hastings to get that small town rural feel without it becoming overdeveloped itself in a few years from now?
100%. And that's the biggest challenge of any area, and I don't think it's just something we're experiencing or facing in Hastings. I think all across Florida, all small towns are going through this. And the best way to protect that is to, come together as a community and figure out positive ways to make an impact and to give feedback to the commissioners in the county and let them know what's important. Zoning and overlay districts and, all of those types of things help to shape a community. There's so many things that have to come into play when you move to an area to make sure that it's going to be in line, not just right in the moment, but long term of what is important to you and your family.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I know there's some exciting events coming up in Hastings. Could you give us a little preview, Jenna?
Yeah, definitely. We have our Fall Festival coming up in October, and that one is an art festival, and we're still working on programming, but last year we had original highwayman R.L. Lewis. He was setting up and doing a live demonstration. We had local artists Rosamond Parrish and Obi. Both of them did live demonstrations. We had muralist Brooke Page do a live demo mural on one of our walls, which turned out amazing. We had a lot of vendors set up. We had live music. It's just a wonderful celebration of community and art and all things Hastings.
What would you say to somebody who is looking for volunteer opportunities in Hastings?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. We literally have something for everyone. And we're always looking for volunteers, everything from, picking up trash each week or helping with gardening along Main Street, where we have a couple beautification projects. No matter what skill level you are, we can always use an extra pair of hands. Right now we're working on building some raised bed gardens for the Council on Aging, and we're, beautifying a couple different properties that Hastings Main Street is now working to revitalize and turn into a community center. So we are always grateful for support in any way, shape, or form, whether it's hands-on. And we have a lot of opportunities for sponsorship, too, if you have a local business and you'd like to get involved.
And what's the point of contact, Jenna?
So the best way to reach us, if you go to our website, hastingsfl.org, our email address is there, and there's a lot of data and information that tells you about the community, what we have going on, ways to get involved. And you can always reach us at theteam@hastingsfl.org.
What would you say to somebody who is thinking about moving to Hastings?
The first thing I think is asking them what's important to them and to make sure, what they're looking for in a community aligns with what we have to offer. But yeah, it's a great little place to live. It's a great little place to work. It's just all a matter of, what's important to you and your family.
Mm-hmm. Do you represent buyers and sellers at Great Expectations Realty?
We do, yeah. We're a little boutique brokerage. We have about 22 agents right now, and we work with buyers and sellers. We do commercial. We do a lot of commercial and, some redevelopment, land, farms, a little bit of everything. So it's a good mix.
And how can folks get in touch with you there, Jenna?
Our website is gerealty.us, or they can call us at 904-806-4274.
And can they ask for you, Jenna Dennis?
They can, absolutely, yeah, and I'm happy to help. And, if it's something that I feel another one of our agents might be able to best assist them with, of course, I can put them in touch with someone that can take care of them.
Hastings is really an up-and-coming part of the county, and it's so fascinating to watch its progress, isn't it, Jenna?
It truly is. It's very heartwarming.
And it's obviously a place that you love very much.
Yes, it truly is.
All right. Thank you, Jenna Dennis. I appreciate you chatting with me this morning. What do you think you'll do with the rest of your Sunday?
Thank you, Liz. I really appreciate chatting with you as well. And I think my family and I are going to go check out the new farmers market and over at the new car museum. And
the classic car museum on Route 1. Yep.
Yeah. We're so excited to have one nearby, and we're going to just have a nice, lazy Sunday afternoon.
Sounds like a good plan. Thank you, Jenna. Keep in touch, okay?
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for listening to Good Morning St. Augustine. And remember, all of our programs can be downloaded as a podcast. Log on to flaglerbroadcasting.com, click on podcasts, and scroll down to Good Morning St. Augustine. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday in our beautiful, historic ancient city.